Hi, I'm Cash, and welcome back to Cash Talks Football, where today we're going to give you some key information. It is technically a masterclass if you actually understand what I'm going to be expressing here. And it's very sort of easy to dodge over what Ruben Averin is trying to do at Manchester United. But it's a bigger sort of question of when you have a new manager come in, and what's the goals and objectives of that new manager. So let's think about these things rationally. You hear about these things called the new manager bounce. We're going to talk about that first. We're going to break down all of these little different things of what actual managers and coaches and the differences between them. So let's just get rid of this myth of this new manager bounce. It's not real. So first off, when you're a new manager and you come in to a club, 80% of the time you have a home game that gives you a 75% chance of winning the game. That's why when a new manager comes into a football club, he normally wins his first couple of games because it's already been set up through the schedule that he's got easier games or home games or both, so he actually goes through. But with Ruben Averin, it's one of these long conversations I've been having with coaches for years and years and years, over 20 years. And the people don't understand the difference. And I'm going to give you the two differences and you're going to make up your own mind about what it is. First off, we're going to give you the new manager. Okay. I'm the new coach coming into the club. The old guy's just gone. And this is my first conversation with you. You're a really good left back. I'm going to have you work harder at left back and you're going to be fantastic. I know you've been playing on the left wing and you're kind of out of position, but you're going to go back and play left back where you've fundamentally been playing, and you're going to do that and you're going to be great. I know you're struggling up front for chances, but you're going to get them. You're going to get those chances. We're going to provide you with them. I know your media's giving you a hard time playing on the right wing, and then you put a little bit more energy, a little bit more fight, and you'll be doing great. That's what a new manager coming in would give you, a Ruud van Nistelrooy and the new manager bounce. This is the other one. Yeah, we've gone through a hard time with the old manager. I'm here, and we're going to be working on a system, and that system is going to be really difficult. It's going to make you guys better football players. When we actually get the system right, it's going to take us a long time. I estimate about a year. But when we get it right, we are going to beat 80% of the teams, and they'll never, ever be able to beat us again, ever. When we start playing the system correctly, the 80% of teams just won't. All we have to do is make sure that we finish off our chances in those games. And we know how football goes. We might lose one that we shouldn't, but 80% of those teams will never beat us again when we have our system down, and it's going to take time. Then for the other 15-20%, the best teams that will end up playing in the Champions League and trying to win the league, we'll deal with that when we get there. But first off, we're going to get to the point where we make sure we never lose to 80% of the teams again. That means we have to make each and every one of you a better footballer, better football player. That's what we're here to do. And when you look at the two different perspectives there, one is just coming in, he's Mr. Motivator, just chatting and bringing energy and energy and energy and energy. Well, what happens with that manager is, in 6 months' time, the team's done again because he can't motivate them. He can't bring up their energy levels anymore because there's no real plan and structure there. All it is getting the players to work a little bit harder, run a little bit faster, do a little thing, but they're still going to lose all the games. The other way is a much more strategical, planned, methodical way of building an actual team to win actual football games on a long-term strategy. You don't get this in modern football. You genuinely don't. People come in and they get churned out within 6 months, and then they get the new Mr. Motivator coming in and he's bouncing and he's going, yeah, we're going to do this. And then in 6 months, he's gone and the next manager comes and we're going to win. Look at my new coach. And they don't have a clue. Which manager are you more likely to listen to? The one that's all bouncy, ready to go, getting you motivated, or the much more methodical one that wants to make you a better footballer, going to change kind of what you do, see some of the faults in your game and try to fix those, make those better so you can become a better football player and long term really, really aim to actually win the league, win the Champions League and push forward. And I know it's not an easy thing. And I want to do it with the group of players I got. And I don't want to buy new players in because I don't think we need it. We've got the talent here. We just need to learn what we're doing and put away some of those old ways, those old habits. And it's going to take us a long, long time to do that. But we're here together and we'll do it as a team if we all stay on the same page. That's how you win. That's how you win long term and over time and time again. Like I go back to when Pep Guardiola came in at Man City. Man City was already running what Pep Guardiola wanted years before he came in. They'd already changed their academy system and all of their infrastructure to the way that he wanted coaching. So it was already geared up and set for him to come in, feet running onto the ground, running forward and try to win football games. People don't sort of realize that. They think that these football clubs are, really sensible institutions. They don't really have a clue. There isn't a structure from their under 10s to get to them to under 12, to under their 15s, to their 16s, to their 18s, up to their 18s graduate a player every year. And we find a best youth player in the world and he comes through our system. Happens at Real Madrid. Sorry, not Real Madrid, Barcelona. It happens at Ajax. These are institutions that have built their structure over time, and it takes a long time to get it right. And it also takes a lot of the coaching staff to be all on the same page and not just trying to win the game. So when Mr. Motivator comes in and he's just trying to win a football game, you go, well, that's all you want, is just to win a football game. Yeah, but eventually football wins. So what do we mean by eventually football wins? Well, playing good football will always end up beating the teams that don't. 80% of the time, you're going to win. The rest of that 20%, it's football. Referees' decisions, players sent off, injuries, anything can happen in that 20. But if you can win 80% of the time, which you can't win 80% of the time, but that's what you know, if your system is in place and everything is right, you will. That's perfect. That's what you're aiming for. Or you play this fly-by-night way of coaching, which pretty much most of the Premier League do. We're going to put our guy on the set piece. We're going to do this over here. We're going to do that, and win this one football game. But then the next week, you don't have any plan, structure, rhyme or reason, and your whole team and everything you've just done last week, you can't translate onto this week. So I'll give you another analysis. So there's lots of advanced tactical courses out there in the world. And when I was running with Barcelona, sorry, I was on with Barcelona, I wasn't running it. It's one of the courses I wasn't running. It's a very interesting way of thinking about stuff. So you need to do a coaching course or a coaching lesson that doesn't work for this weekend, but does work and for the weekends coming. What does that mean? It's kind of a nonsense question, right? It's not. What it means is, if they've got a weak right back and you're tailoring your training session to beat that right back in that game, and next week's team doesn't have a weak right back, or the week after that, or the week after that, that training session you've done there is irrelevant because it's only worked for 1 week. Then what do you do next? Well, we've got to do a new training session. It doesn't work like that. That isn't a way to build a team that's going to win the league. It's just not. You have to have it. So whatever you're running works for that week and all the other weeks coming up. Now, the problem is when you're like a Ruben Averin and you're coming into a system where, well, if we're not going to win this week with this one system or this one training session, because we've got 50 we've got to get through before we can get to the one that we need to fix to help to win the game, because we're so far behind. And people don't realize that because they've never really been in a situation where they're actually team building and building something for the future. As again, go back to what I was just saying, the modern coaches, they get churned out every 6 months. This is a hilarious thing that I spotted in my first year of youth coaching. It was the funniest thing in the world to me. I was watching these conversations with the directors of coaching, talking to the parents. Parents are the customers. If you think of it this way, the parents are the sports agents. Okay, if you take parents, because quite often the parents are the sports agents, right? And you can translate everything from that youth that you learn into the professional game, because the players are still children. Doesn't matter how old they are. Their 28-year-old Marcus Rashford is still a child and doesn't listen. Same as that little 8-year-old little Johnny down there doesn't listen. Your job is to get them to listen. And they've always got someone chirping in their ear. Who's that? Their sports agent. Who's that? Their parent. It's the same thing. There's always the cycle of the three. Okay. So when you're trying to build that team and you're trying to move forward and you're trying to actually get the all the players on board, you've got to try to cut out all that chirping and get them focused. Hold on, I was rambling on about my point here, and I'm not going to stop the video and do a cut. I want to try to remember the point I was making. I'll get to it. No, not the Barcelona thingy. No, something different. But what ends up happening is, that's it, the 6 months churn. With youth coaches. So what I was seeing with the directors of coaching, they were saying to the parents or the agents, don't worry about that coach. He'll be gone in 6 months. Yeah. Just suck it up. Yeah. Don't worry. We'll get a new coach in 6 months. And your little kid, he'll do really well at under 12s because we'll get rid of that coach. We'll get a new one in. I know all the parents are unhappy. Yeah, I know. So it's the same thing for the clubs talking to the agents. No, don't leave. You don't need to go off and get somewhere else because we're going to get rid of Ten Hag. We're going to get a new coach in. Oh no, sorry, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We're going to get rid of Jose Mourinho. We're going to get a new coach. No, we're going to get rid of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We're going to get a new coach. No, we're going to get rid of him. We're going to get a new coach. And what you find out is this one simple thing, whether it's youth coaching or it's in the Premier League, it's the same thing. The coach couldn't coach in the first place. He didn't actually have a plan and a structure to keep the team going and building. But it doesn't matter because we get rid of him in 6 months anyway. So by the time the new coach comes in, it takes 6 months to find out, well, he can't coach. Well, we'll get rid of him in 6 months' time. So think about it. It takes him 6 months to find out he can't coach. Then the 6 months period happens when everyone starts yelling and screaming. Don't worry, we'll get rid of him next year. Then we get rid of him. And then the cycle continues, and it continues, and it continues. And the only reason why United haven't had such a massive fall off is because of the infrastructure and how much money they've had. Normally what happens to teams is they get relegated out of the Premier League. And if you look at a lot of the Championship teams that come up and you look at what they're doing, they've built a proper structure to win the league. They've done really well. They've believed in their coach. They've got into their system, got into their rhythm, done everything they need to. They get into the Premier League and they find out the 80% that they were winning, now they can't win. Because, well, now they really need to do their whole new system again because the level has gone up again. So now the level's higher, it doesn't work. So they've got to refocus, master everything. Go, right, we're doing these things, they're not working. Now we've got to do these other different things. And they can't make the jump and go, just because it works there, it doesn't mean it's going to work here. Because the quality, the level, the speed of play is higher and they can't really adapt to it. That's why they flop, and you see it as soon as they come up. Then Mr. Motivator comes in, and that team that's going to get relegated wins 3 or 4 games. Everyone goes, oh, and then he's terrible again, because there isn't a plan, there isn't a structure. They don't really know what they're doing. They haven't got a set way of how they're going to play, build, and understand. And I go back to people like David Moyes, for instance. He's a Mr. Motivator. He comes in, but he does it very low key. Like, he does the simple things, builds the structure, makes it hard to beat, hits you on the counter attack, but he builds it slowly. But he's not going to get you to win the league, because that system that he's got won't win 80% of the time. And that's the difference of royal high-end proper coaches that know what they're doing. People that are kind of decent. David Moyes is all right. It's not a good coach. He's all right. And then there's a whole load of other people underneath there that just aren't anywhere near that sort of level. And when you start sort of understanding that, and you realize that, and you start looking at clubs, and you go like Ange Postecoglou, he's a builder. He just wasn't ready for the Premier League. You look at him at Tottenham, and you look at him and you go, he's got a plan. He knows what he wants to do. His team's going to win 80% of the time. He actually knows what he's kind of talking about. And when I say 80%, we know it's not. We know like how football goes, but that's generally right. And if you look at what Postecoglou did at the start when he first came in, and Tottenham were top of the league and doing fantastic, you could see everyone was bought into the system and everyone was playing correctly and everyone's on fire. And all of a sudden, with injuries and other problems, and it all starts slipping away. But he had a plan and a structure, and he was going for it. There isn't many coaches out there. Yeah, you'll say Jurgen Klopp. You can see his brand of football. You can see his structure. You can see it. You get what he's going to do. Pep's, as boring as it is, I can't stand watching him play. It's just dull to me. But you can see the structure and what's going on. Ruben Averin, watch Sporting Lisbon team. You can see what his team is doing. You go look at a lot of other teams, and you'll go, they're just winning that game. They're doing the right things, but they're just winning that game of football. You can see in 2 years' time or a year's time, that team isn't going to be there, because the effort it's taking for them to win that game, they can't sustain it. It's not just a bit of luck. It's extra energy levels that they're having to do. It's not just a planned structure and a system that's doing it. And then what happens is, let's go through Manchester City, which I know very, very well. Let's not say why, because this video will get pulled away again. When you start understanding how clubs work and actually the infrastructure behind it, when you have Fernandinho playing in the Fernandinho role, and now it's just Rodri, which is just the same player, or David Silva playing in the David Silva role, and then you have an academy graduate coming in through as Phil Foden. It's just spokes on the wheel. It's the same type of player coming in and filling in the gap into the system, and the system is what's winning the game. The players are just coming in as and when needed and playing the right roles and responsibilities that they need to. Now, there is a problem with all of that, though, because one thing that beats all of that is proper talented players being able to play football properly, and that doesn't happen anymore. You don't see like proper play. Like, if you don't believe me, go look at the Ballon d'Or nominees from the last 4 years and go about 2010 to 2014 and go and just look at the quality of players from that sort of area to now. And that was only 10 years ago. And you're going to go, yeah, every single one of these players you cared about, you knew, you watched, they're like, yeah, he was a good footballer, yeah, he's a good footballer, yeah, he was a good footballer, yeah, he's a good. Now you go like, do you go and watch Barcelona to watch Lamine Yamal play? When Messi came, did you watch Messi when he came to play? Yeah, you did. Yeah, everyone. I'm watching in case Messi comes on. There was a massive difference in football, and the way it's going is just downhill because these people don't understand what they're really doing at the fundamental levels of coaching. They really don't, and you can see it. It's this the dichotomy. Now, there's this trick, and if you're still listening, you're going to learn something different. There's another way, right? And this is what I was very, very good at doing: implementing your system, but still winning on the weekend. And you're cheating. You're doing a hybrid, and you can't do it all the time, but in some games you can. When you've just got to throw your morals out of the way of what you want to try to do just to win the game, because you know if you do, you're going to keep your team on board. And that's the other hard part about it. When you're trying to hit that goal of trying to get everyone on board in your system, every game you lose credibility as a coach. You walk onto that training field, and they believe in you just a little bit less. So that's the sort of bucket you're trying to fill. And I can't remember. I used to have a saying for this ages ago. You need 2 wins to negate 1 loss. So every time you lose a game, that's it's the same credibility as you have of winning 2 in a row. So the more losses you have, the more wins you have to get that credibility back. And it becomes this little cycle. All of a sudden, when you get 3 losses, that means you need 6 wins. And it's real difficult. And that's when you can start seeing this spiral happen real quickly when managers and coaches, they just get rid of them because, well, they're in like a little death spiral. They keep losing and they've got no credibility with the players anymore. And there's so many other little nuances to it. And this is just sort of like a brief overview. I'm going to do some more talks like this as well, where I just start explaining more about behind the scenes coaching and what happens and the behind the scenes that goes on, because coaches don't they have these conversations, but they don't really change their principles. They don't. They believe what they're doing is right, and based on their experience they had as a player or whatever they've done coaching course wise. Got one coach, he's done a 4-3-3 coaching course, like he refuses to do anything else because it's easy. He can win games through it. It's easy. It's hard to coach a 4-4-2, really, really hard. So he just coaches the 4-3-3 because it's simple. And a lot of that people don't get. They just don't get. Now, to beat these systems as well, you have to have technical ability to be able to do it. Can the player play a 45-yard pass out of the back and break down that high press? No? Well, you're in trouble then, aren't you? You can't break it down. And you can learn all of that from the youth level as well. When you're playing like under 10s and they're all crowded around the 18-yard box and you just hit the ball over the halfway line, run on and kick it in on the goal, because the rules are different, because your players can kick a ball and their players can't kick a ball. So they're crowding the area to make you, when you make a bad pass, to steal it and smash it in the goal. Well, does that look like the Premier League? Yes, it does. So if your players can just hit a 45-yard, 50-yard ball to your striker, you don't have to worry about any of that nonsense. And the reason why you do that is to get them away from your box, so then you can create the opportunity to build up from the back. You don't just do it because, well, you do now, because what they've done is they've read a coaching book that says when you build up from the back, you go through zone 1. And in zone 1, if you do this correctly, you can get to zone 2 with a higher probability of getting to zone 3. If you just kick the ball to zone 3 and you lose the ball, well, why don't you just make sure when the ball goes to zone 3, if you don't win it, you defend zone 2 and you win the ball back and you go again? Oh, but that's not in the coaching book, so they won't talk about that. Yeah, there's lots more I could go on to. And if you, there was a comment in the comment section about coaching youth players and them not being able to get your message across because they're so full of high energy, and that's your job as a coach. Doesn't matter what the training session is, if it's a Premier League training session or an under 10s training session, your job is to make sure you get your message across. Now, that doesn't mean, this is one of the most important things you're going to learn. It's hilarious to me. A friend of mine asked me to come when I came back from, I can't remember what country I was coaching, come and look at his kids' soccer and say, should he be on the A team or the B team? I told him in 15 seconds he's a B team player and broke, like, yeah. But the coach was coaching to the parents. You could hear it. I'm trying to look. The kids didn't have a bloody clue what they're doing. You're not trying to get the kid to remember what he said and what he did. You're trying to get the kid to play it. There's a difference. You're trying not to get the Premier League football player to articulate how to defend a 5-3-2 situation with a dynamic overlap. You're supposed to be able to get him to trigger him in his mind's eye to see it and defend it. He doesn't need to explain it. He doesn't need to know why he tracks that runner. He just needs to do the job. Your job as a coach is to explain that with as minimal words as possible and get them to do it. Now, if you can't do that, you need to find a way. That's what good coaches do. You're not going to be perfect. You're not going to be right. Took me years to learn to be a good coach. Years and years. And a lot of it was from failing and going, well, that wasn't working. Why wasn't that working? Why wasn't my youth team paying any attention to me? Well, because they were full of energy. I wasn't giving them enough dynamic input mentally, stimulating them. I was giving them stuff that was too complicated, and I had to make it simpler and simpler and simpler. And the more simple it is, as soon as they get it, you can move up the level. If they don't get it, you don't move up, you don't do it. Good coaches, when they really break it down to you and they actually tell you the truth, they only have 8 coaching sessions. I'm telling you, they only have about 8 coaching sessions. And one of the best advices, one of my good friend of mine, we were like a lot of coaches. I've coached with hundreds of coaches over the years, loads of different football clubs, and he got it right. So like we'd be sitting there doing a debrief at the end, and go, oh, what were you coaching? Oh, well, I wanted to coach third man running down the side, but we just played keep away and played header tennis, and I'd start laughing because I knew, well, it was exam week and the kids aren't going to pay attention because they're just too full of energy. They've been sat in a hall doing exams and all they want to do is run around and kick a ball. They don't want to do anything that you're telling them. And you've got to understand that and read the room. So when you've just lost a game of football, when you're coaching your Sunday league team or your league team, you've got to know what you can and can't push with. You can't teach them something really complicated because they're not going to get it. And that's what Ruben Averin's going through at Man United. He's got to do all these little steps, because they're not taking on board what he's saying, because they don't have the mental acuity to do it, because they're so wound up about having to win on the weekend, or just lost on the weekend, or being booed by their fans, or all these other things that's going on externally. So it's taking him even more time to get that over. Knowing your team and understanding how to get the best out of them is one of the only things that makes you a good coach. Otherwise, anyone would do it. Other than that, I'll see you next time on Cash Talks Football.